This is a disaster.
Well, we saw the animated Dumbo, and that wasn't very good, so how does the 2019 one fare in comparison? Well, we saw it in the theater back in 2019, and I remember kind of hating it when I first saw it. I think I remember finding it to be a slog to sit through. I think we also got really shitty seats at the theater, so that didn't help. We were
Yeah,
like right in the front.
I think we were like 3 rows back in like the biggest theater that they had, the biggest screen.
Yes.
So that definitely didn't help. The only thing I remember from that experience was that I thought the first half wasn't very good, and I must have been tired or falling asleep, or I just mentally blocked out the entire second half because I did not remember most of what happens in the second half of this movie.
I remembered pretty much the entire movie pretty well, but upon watching it again, I didn't hate it this time, but I was frustrated because second time around I started seeing all the ways this could have went right. And that annoys me more than it just being a big pile of crap.
Well, I think it's like another good example of why Tim Burton is not doing big Disney projects anymore. Like, you can kind of tell that if Tim Burton got to make 100% his own take on this story, then maybe he could have come up with something good, but that would mean not following the original story in any kind of way. And we can't have that.
As it just so happens, I have a quote here from Tim Burton about this movie. He said in 2022, "The thing about Dumbo is that's why I think my days with Disney are done. I realized that I was Dumbo and that I was working in this big, horrible circus and I needed to escape. That movie is quite autobiographical at a certain level."
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. I can't say I hated it either, but I really did not like it at all.
First, I will say that instead of making it live action, this should have been animated again in stop motion.
Yeah.
That really would have been a way for Burton to put his stamp on this.
Yeah, I never even thought about that, but
That was occurring to me all throughout the film. I was like, imagine this in stop motion with Burton's style. You can even have some of the same actors, and instead it's just this big, hideous CGI mess. The opening shot of the movie is the Medici train, like riding across the country, and it looks like a video game.
Yeah.
It's some of the worst
Yeah.
CG in any of these films.
yeah. So I mean, so far that we've seen, yeah, it really looks fake. It's comical because they're trying to sell you on like the whimsy and the fun and possible adventure, but it's such a bad first impression. You're just thinking like, my God, if it's gonna look this fake anyway, just make it an animated movie.
Yeah, CGI was one of the worst things to happen to Tim Burton and Terry Gilliam. Both great filmmakers, at least, well, I think Gilliam is a much better filmmaker on a substantial level, but Burton is a visual master, and his CGI movies deprive him of the thing that made his work stand out so much in his heyday.
That's really like the first impression you get with this. Is just, this is not what's great about Tim Burton's work. This is just computer effects gone awry. Like, nothing works, nothing looks real. You got characters green screened into these fake looking environments, so you're just immediately put off by the whole thing.
So, the first half of the movie is basically a retelling of the original film condensed down into about 40 minutes, which is really how long the first movie should have been when you really think about it. But there are some differences. Namely, this first half of the film, in fact, the whole movie, doesn't really focus so much on Dumbo as it does these human characters. The circus troupe, I think it was the Casey Jr. circus troupe in the original. They're now the Medici brothers circus troupe led by Danny DeVito, who is Max Medici, the ringleader. Only it turns out later on in the movie that there are no Medici brothers. It's just Danny DeVito pretending to be two people.
Yeah.
He's the ringleader, and then Colin Farrell comes home from the war. He was a horse handler, and he comes back to rejoin the circus, only he comes back with an arm missing.
Yeah.
He comes back to his daughter and his son.
It wouldn't be a Disney movie if they didn't have a dead parent. So.
Yeah, a dead parent who died of Spanish flu, I think it was, the plague. And there's a theme that starts to emerge where all of these characters, like Dumbo, have something about them that makes them different, but that's also the thing that makes them special. Colin Farrell has one arm, but he's still the same man he ever was. He can still be a good parent and do his job well. His daughter, the thing that makes her different is she wants to be like a scientist. She wants to be an intellectual. She doesn't want to be a circus performer, but of course, that kind of thing is frowned upon in those days, especially if you're a girl. And then, of course, Dumbo. He's the freak with the big ears. And, of course, the ears turn out to be a gift, just like the original film.
Once again, in a circus, being ridiculed for such a thing makes absolutely no sense, because this is why people come to the circus at these times.
It makes even less sense in this film, though, because in the original film, Dumbo was ridiculed for having big ears and being a freak. There are no gossiping elephants in this one because the animals don't talk. So what happens is Dumbo, he performs this act in the circus, and Danny DeVito, his character, says, "Hide those ears. Those things are ridiculous." So they parade Dumbo out dressed up as an infant, like with a little bonnet, and they have like a little sign that says, "Dear Baby Jumbo," because Mrs. Jumbo is in this film again. And, things go wrong, and Dumbo's ears come out. They come out of the bonnet, and the people in the audience are saying, "Those ears are fake." "That's not real. Those are fake." And then they start chanting, "Dumbo, Dumbo, fake, fake, fake." It's what?
That's where he gets his name, because the whole act goes wrong, and then his sign gets messed up, and the D falls in front of him.
Yeah, the sign "Dear Baby Jumbo" gets messed up. The J in Jumbo falls off, and the D in Dear falls over, and it becomes Dumbo. So that's what the crowd call him now. Before he was Dumbo, he was Baby Jumbo. And before he was Baby Jumbo, he was conceived as Cumbo.
Jesus.
That was an off-color joke. Or an off-white color joke.
Oh, God. Christ. Let's see. There, like you said, there is no gossiping elephants, but there is the one guy, kind of the hillbilly-ish dude running the freak show.
Yeah.
Who's got a problem with him.
Yeah, Rufus, the redneck handler.
Rufus. He's so comically, such a cartoon character, so over the top.
Yeah, the generic abusive circus handler who dies when he provokes Mrs. Jumbo and she runs amok and accidentally gets him killed, which, good riddance.
I guess they need a reason to actually make her a mad elephant.
Yeah.
In the original one, it's really, not that big a reason to put her away.
So that happens. Mrs. Jumbo, she runs amok, so they cage her and send her away. They sell her. Max Medici sells her. So after Mrs. Jumbo is gone, Dumbo is, of course, depressed about it, and Colin Farrell's character, Holt, I believe his name is, their kids start to bond with Dumbo, and at one point, the son calls him Jumbo, I think, and she says, "Don't call him that. It'll make him think of his mother." And I was like, what? Why shouldn't he think of his mother? He just lost her. He has every right to feel depressed.
Yeah.
So they call him Dumbo, so he doesn't think about his mother who's gone.
Yeah, let's call him this name that's not his name. That's like his ridicule name. Just kind of on the kids for a second.
Yeah.
They don't really do anything with them, and their acting is so stiff.
Now, the daughter they do a little bit more with, which is to say they do very slightly with. They have an idea about her character that's never fully realized. She wants to be an intellectual, but it doesn't really go anywhere. I don't think the boy does anything.
I don't think he does either. I think he's just there.
Yeah, we watched this a week ago, then we got a cold. That's why we were absent for a little while, but I don't remember him doing dick.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, he might as well have been cut altogether. And the daughter, I don't want to dump on child actors, but not the best actress. Very, very wooden performance. Could have gotten a better actor there.
I mean, even their mannerisms and the way they walk around and kind of their personalities and characters, they're just so wooden. She walks around and her arms don't move from her sides. There's this, I don't know.
Like a robot.
Yeah, like you said, I don't want to say anything too harsh because they're child actors, and this is not a very good movie, and there's really not much to work with, but just not enjoyable.
So after Mrs. Jumbo is sold off and Dumbo is depressed, another act is performed where, as you know, it turns out Dumbo can fly. He has a talent for flying. And this makes him the talk of the town, and that information is relayed to this theme park owner named V.A. Vanderveer, who is
Walt Disney.
Yeah, he's basically a Walt Disney stand-in. And he's played by Michael Keaton. So Michael Keaton says, we got to get this elephant in our show.
Yeah.
So Vanderveer goes to the Medici circus and he says, hey, Max, you be a partner with me and you and all of your troupe can live at Dreamland basically for free.
I'm sure he's gonna keep his word.
And then he says something very weird. He says to Max Medici, he says, I know there are no Medici brothers. It's just you. But I bet you've always wanted a brother. It's like, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
Well, they're trying to give some depth to Danny DeVito's character because despite his performance being enjoyable and entertaining, there's really nothing to his character. He's just the circus ringleader.
Well, I felt like his storyline, they already gave him like enough of a conflict, which is that he agrees to the deal with Vanderveer for the benefit of himself and his troupe. He wants to give them a permanent roof over their head. But of course, as Vanderveer reveals his corruption to him, Danny DeVito has no choice but to just go along with it. And eventually he has to fire his troupe. That was perfectly fine. The weird brother thing was needless. And it's also off theme.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think it's just bad writing where they thought maybe they were giving the character more depth, but it was, didn't amount to anything in the actual story. Or maybe that's a place they wanted to take the story and then just forgot about it or didn't take that line out. It wouldn't surprise me because that's kind of like the other big problem with this movie is that they have a lot of like stories that are set up, but they don't really take them anywhere. Like the romantic interest for Colin Farrell.
Yeah, what was her name? Colette?
Yeah, Eva Green's character.
Yeah. Which, she's like this French trapeze artist who works at Dreamland, and she is seemingly Vanderveer's lady friend, but she's basically just a prop for him to use.
Yeah. Her and Colin Farrell have like a romantic thing in the movie, and it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's not developed at all.
It's obligatory.
Yeah.
Now, a little word on the performances. There are two actors in this movie who absolutely feel like they belong here and they're doing well. And then there's two who seem strangely out of place. Danny DeVito as Max Medici is great. He's worked with Burton like 2-3 times before, so he fits like a glove. No problems there. And then the other one, I actually thought Eva Green did really well in her role as the French trapeze artist.
Yeah, she's good. She's fine. I like her anyways.
She's not given much to do, but she does what little she's given very well. I thought she was very convincing, and she felt like she belonged here. The two that seemed strangely out of place were Colin Farrell, who's a wonderful actor, but he feels lost.
He does.
And I think it's just because his character has nothing to do, therefore there's nothing for him to sink his teeth into.
He's got that stuffed straw arm that flops about.
Yeah.
And
There's a funny visual joke where Max Medici gives him this terrible prosthetic to wear, and it's just a cloth arm stuffed with hay.
yeah. But it really does feel like Colin Farrell has kind of just randomly wandered onto a set and just doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
He looks and sounds completely lost.
And the other one is actually Michael Keaton. He gives a very strange performance in this movie.
He's German, then he's not German.
Yeah, sometimes he has an accent, sometimes he just sounds like Michael Keaton. He also feels like he doesn't have a grasp on the material and he doesn't know what to do with the character.
No.
And as it just so happens, I have a quote from Michael Keaton. He had this to say in retrospect: I love working with Tim so much, but I don't think we ever really analyzed why we work pretty well together. We just do. I think I let him down on one movie, but that's just me, and it bugs me to this day. I was clueless on Dumbo. I sucked in Dumbo.
Hey, he's a man of integrity. Because, that's totally the case. But once again, just has no idea what he's doing, no idea what to do with the character. He's just there to wear his fake hair, say his lines, and sometimes have an accent.
Now, the second half of the story, this is where it could have gone right. One thing we didn't talk about in our review of the animated one is that it's a Rudolph the Reindeer story, so basically what the resolution is, oh, Dumbo, now that you're useful to someone and can be exploited for someone else's gain, happy ending time. This movie takes the next logical step and says, okay, So what happens when he gets that ending and he is exploited for somebody else's gain?
It's kind of the Rocky 2 part of the story where
Yeah.
he's got all the fame and adulation.
Yeah, and the movie goes on to have this admirable message about not keeping animals in captivity for people's entertainment. And the problem is this film is written by Aaron Kruger, who, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the 5 worst writers in the United States. So that's where the story could have gone. They really could have said something interesting about animals in captivity. And there's this little tiny capper at the very end of the movie that I'll get into in a second. But yeah, after this, Vanderveer wants to exploit Dumbo. He brings in this investor played by Alan Arkin, the wonderful late great Alan Arkin, to watch Dumbo perform. And this is where we get this movie's version of Pink Elephants on Parade.
Oh yeah,
And here's what happens. Everyone in the auditorium takes to their seats, and then these circus performers bring out these giant bubble wands, and then out of the wands come these big pink bubbles, and inexplicably, these bubbles gain sentience and start dancing to the tune of Pink Elephants on Parade, and Dumbo is paralyzed with awe watching this.
He's enchanted by it.
He's enchanted, and he just sits there bobbing his head, and that's all he does.
It's completely unmotivated. It's totally obligatory.
It's just there because it was in the original film.
They're recognizing that the best part of the original movie was the pink elephant sequence, so it would be heresy to not have it. But they don't want to have Dumbo get drunk because it's a 20-whatever-year Disney movie, and they don't have any balls, so they don't make the characters do anything interesting. So they have no reason for it being there. It's just there for no reason.
Now here comes the part where I kind of do a 180. If I had not seen the original film, this probably would be my favorite scene because it's so weird and tonally dissonant from everything else. The whole movie is fairly grounded, aside from the fact that it's literally about a flying elephant. But then, yeah, there's just these bubbles that become sentient.
Yeah, and you wonder, like, why is
so much attention being focused on these pink elephants?
Yeah, well, just not even that, but if like, why does Michael Keaton need this elephant, like Dumbo, as part of his act when he's got like magic bubbles that can do whatever he wants?
Yeah,
just break the laws of physics and reality.
Just an opening act, and it's funny. As Max Medici and company are watching the pink elephants, Max remarks, "Pink elephants," and Alan Arkin says, "So?"
Yeah, that's kind of like my reaction.
And then, introducing Dumbo is none other than Michael Buffer.
Yeah.
When I saw this in the theater, I remember thinking, you gotta be kidding me. Did they really bring this man out here just to have him say,
is he gonna say it?
"Let's get ready for Dumbo"?
Yes.
And they did.
Yes, they are.
He does it twice.
Yep. How much do you think he got paid to do that?
$2 million, that's my guess. I think he charges up the wazoo to say that line.
Yeah. That's probably accurate. And it's not clever. It's not funny.
And it's anachronistic, because it's like this movie takes place like 100 years before Michael Buffer would have been a thing.
Yeah, it's just stupid. It's a dumb gag, and for a children's movie...
And who's it for?
Yeah, exactly. No children are gonna know who Michael Buffer is. Maybe Bruce Buffer, but not Michael Buffer. Another thing that's just kind of stupid about Dreamland and his whole plan, they already have a flying elephant, but their idea to make the act like more spectacular is to have the trapeze lady riding Dumbo.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't a flying elephant enough? You know, people have never seen this. Why don't you start with the the flying elephant and eventually build up to a lady riding him? Because
yeah, but it turns out Michael Keaton's character was an asshole, and he doesn't have any safeguards in place if Eva Green falls to her death, so that's like the first clue to her that he can't be trusted.
Yeah.
So it turns out that Michael Keaton, Vanderveer, was the one who bought Mrs. Jumbo, and Mrs. Jumbo is somewhere in Dreamland in a cage. Dumbo realizes this, and Vanderveer thinks that she'll be a distraction to depressed little baby Dumbo, and he decides to have her killed, which
That's no solution to your Dumbo problem.
Yeah, you have a depressed elephant who misses his mother. You find out mom is here in Dreamland with Dumbo. Just reunite them.
Yeah, Dumbo's not, acting as well as he could. The act's not working. He's not performing. He misses his mom. You've got the mom, like, right there next door. Just put the two together. He'll be happy again. Then Dumbo can perform for you. It's like killing the mom off is the dumbest possible thing they could have made him do.
Michael Keaton's the real Dumbo. All the protagonists plan to break Dumbo and Mrs. Jumbo out. They do.
It becomes a heist movie.
Yeah.
And this almost would have been fun if they could have come up with some more clever things for the people to do. They try to have each one of them utilize their strengths as, like, part of the freak show. Like, you've got a mermaid lady, you've got, the strong man, you've got a guy with a cane or something. That's when it starts to get really lame because they run out of ideas for these people to participate in the heist. But it could have been cool. Could have been a fun idea.
But like everything, it just kind of falls flat. So they break Jumbo and Dumbo out. Michael Keaton accidentally burns down Dreamland.
He does. Just another example of him being the dumbest character in the movie.
And then Alan Arkin gets the best line in the movie when he says, "Wow, this is a disaster."
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure you and I both laughed at that in the theater thinking, the feeling's mutual, Alan.
Yeah, we probably did, but I don't remember half of the movie that we watched, so...
So, yeah, at the end of the film, Jumbo and Dumbo are free, and they go off to live in India, I think, their home country, and Max Medici reopens the circus, which now does not feature any animals in captivity. Happy ending, the end. Yeah, this could have been fun and beautiful to look at, but they made the mistake of CGing everything. There's a limit on sets. The sets they do have are pretty decent looking, and it's gray. It's gray and brown, like everything.
Yeah. Color palette. And, like, Tim Burton's known for having, like, very, monochromatic movies, but he has also injected color in quite a few of them, and he's good at doing that. Yeah. But once again, when you're doing, like, digital work with, CG environments, and everything has to be cobbled together in post, you end up with this, like, the really ugly flat lighting, just brown and gray color scheme where nothing pops. Or they use, like, the sun to, overexpose or brighten everything, where you're just blinded by it. It's just a very ugly looking movie.
Yeah, Tim Burton is like a prime example of art thriving on limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Before CGI, all he had was his puppets and his practical effects and his sets, and he had to work with what he had. CGI, the possibilities are limitless, but they're also unbelievably shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, for, like, as bad as the movie looks, I think Dumbo actually looks pretty okay. Like, it's a cutesy design, and that's what you want the character to have.
This movie is not as bad as Alice in Wonderland.
Or Pinocchio.
Yeah, Alice in Wonderland looks like he filmed it through a lens of sewer.
I've never seen it, so...
It's hideous.
I'm looking forward to that one. It should be coming up pretty soon, I think.
Oh, and this was better than Pinocchio, yes.
Yes, this is a better movie than Pinocchio. I still never want to watch it again.
Here's the question, was this better than the original Dumbo?
I don't know.
Neither one of us hated it, but we also didn't like it.
The original's not animated very well. It does have, like, 2 good sequences. It's got the people building the tent sequence. That's well animated, even though it's got the racist song.
Yeah.
It's got the pink elephants, which is far and away the best thing in that movie. It's only 65 minutes, so there is that. But it is very boring to sit through.
Yeah.
It feels like 2 hours.
This one actually is 2 hours.
This is 2 hours. Looks ugly. The characters suck. And the pink elephant sequence has no motivation behind it. And they're handicapping Tim Burton from being able to do anything creative with the story or the concept. So I guess I would just rather watch the first one.
Yeah, I guess that's definitely the case. The thing that puts the original over this one is that movie has one really great scene. This movie has no great scenes.
No, no. It's got Danny DeVito. It's got Alan Arkin.
Yeah. So what is your final number grade on a scale of 1 to 10?
A 5. I can't be too mad at it. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I just feel bad for Tim Burton. I hope that this was a learning lesson for him, and I liked Beetlejuice, and hopefully he continues to make more stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it was an eye-opening experience for him because, yeah, Beetlejuice was a flawed movie, but it was so much better than this.
It felt like a Tim Burton movie.
It had energy.
Yeah, it felt like somebody's vision. It felt like, they had limitations in place, so they had to get creative with how they pulled some of the stuff off.
It had sets. It had practical effects.
It had makeup. It had everything.
And Michael Keaton, man of integrity that he is, knew not to overstay his character's welcome.
Yeah. But this, like I said, I forgot half the movie when we left the theater, and a week after watching it on Disney Plus, I'd have already forgotten much of it.
So this left no kind of impression on you.
No, it's not something I'd ever like to watch again.
Yeah, I also give this a 5. I don't think it's wholly terrible. I do see that there was a lot of places where it could have gone right, and that, like I said, is the most frustrating thing. Stop hiring Aaron Kruger.